So I recently received a comment asking me to do a tutorial on how I paint hair, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. I want to do a more in-depth tutorial on painting different types of hair, but in this one I'm basically just going to go over my basic steps that I follow pretty much every time I paint hair, regardless of the hair type. I think that these steps can really help simplify the process and make it really easy to get nice looking hair. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Actually, I lied. Before I start, I want to say really quick that I am just using a round brush for pretty much this whole tutorial. It's nothing fancy. I do have the pen pressure turned on though. So basically the harder that I press on the pencil, it makes the brush stroke like more opaque. This helps me get more color variation as I paint, and that'll help later whenever we start working with shadows and highlights and stuff like that. So just something to keep in mind. You don't have to have this specific brush, but just if you have a brush that has the pen pressure turned on, that'll really help. So I always start off with just laying down a base color for my hair, not thinking too much about lighting or anything like that. And I'm also just trying to get the basic shape of the hair at this point. I'm not really worried about any like loose strands or anything. So once I've got my base color down, I'm gonna start adding shadows to the shape that I've got. When I pick the color for my shadows, a lot of times I'll actually just pick from a color that's already on my canvas. So I'm just gonna pick this color here, and then I'll add shadows where I think that the shadows would fall based on whatever lighting situation I have. And then after I do that, I'm gonna move on to lighting. I'm just gonna pick a kind of light bluish for my lighting here, and I'm gonna make a kind of band of light that follows the shape of her head and her hair down below. And so once I've got this kind of base highlight down, I'm gonna go in and add a super bright highlight. This helps give the hair like a really nice shine. So I'm gonna go in with a really, really bright color, and I'm also gonna lower my brush size down quite a bit and just kind of run it through the middle of that original highlight that I did. And at this stage, it might kind of look like choppy and kind of messy right now, but what we're gonna do next is kind of smooth out some of these edges and help make this shine look a little bit more natural. So I'm gonna color pick some of the colors that are already on my canvas, and then I'm gonna kind of just smooth over some of these edges. And I don't wanna erase like everything that I've done. I don't wanna go over all of it, but I do wanna kind of pick and choose some areas to just kind of smooth out and just help it so it doesn't look so choppy, and just give it a little bit more of a painted look to it. And the very last step, I'm gonna go in and find some loose strands of the hair that I can paint in, just to help give it a little bit more like flow and dynamics, and just kind of go in and do any kind of final touches or final details. And that's pretty much it for my process. So just to recap, I start by just laying down a base color. I try to stay with really like simple shapes for the hair, and then I'll fill in like small details and smaller strands of hair later. And then I start working on shadows and highlights. I try to do these separately, the shadows first and then the highlights. I find that this helps it feel a little bit less overwhelming. I feel like if you try to do both at the same time, sometimes you can kind of get lost in the details of trying to do everything at once. So I really find it helps to either do shadows first or highlights first. Once I have my lighting done, I'll go and do like a final highlight, which is the brightest. This is where it helps kind of give the hair that shine. So I'll go in with a really small brush and just do that final like streak of highlight. And then once that's done, I'll go in and just kind of smooth out some of the edges just to help make it look a little bit more natural. And then after that, I'll go in and just do any kind of final details like strands of hair, if there's any kind of like glowing effects or anything like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my process. I hope you guys found this helpful in some way. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have any questions about anything. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.